Hello, today is July 16th, and thought I could just share a little bit of what's going on in the library world this summer and with Alma Primo. I am currently um, one session into the 6 sessions I think they have of the Illuna Online post-conference recap, where they uh, re-air some of the key sessions. Um, I was hoping that I would have watched two by now, but they ended up postponing yesterday's. So from one day of watching these, something interesting that I saw that I think we will need to discuss more as a group is the use of research assistant in Primo. Um, their stats, Ex Libris's stats, say that of like 464 institutions made Research Assistant available to users over this last year. And basically by the end of spring, they are up to 100,000 questions a week from just this many institutions. Um, if you turned on Research Assistant in your environment, I believe there are Primo analytics on its use. Um, but as far as like overall statistics, this was just kind of their generic promo slide on how much everyone loves it. Um, but we could take a look and see, because Bellingham has it turned on, so we could take a look and see what kind of stats we can find on it in their environment. Oh, you guys turned it on too? Cool. Um, I was wondering if anyone else had in the last few months. The other session, and I get a lot of questions about this one, is library open workflows. And LOWs is a service that Ex Libris announced last Illuna and soft launched for early adopters this year. And they're hyping it because it's a WYSIWYG, supposedly, of setting up third-party integrations. One of the examples from the presentation given at Illuna was setting up a process to send an email to the circ clerks in the morning if there were short-term reserve items overdue from the night before. Um, so is that information that you could theoretically look up? Yes, of course. Analytics doesn't work for it because it's a short-term loan and analytics would be, 24-hour later. And the idea was that the clerks would only want an email if an item was overdue. And so the librarian, who's one of their early adopters from one of the California community colleges, showed how easy it was to kind of connect to the Alma APIs for set membership and then tap into a trigger of if there was anything in the set to then send an email to specific people. Cool, sure, probably saves time. However, it is a subscription add-on at this point, and I just don't see our libraries doing anything significant with APIs that would give value to purchasing this new service. So we'll keep our eye on it. I'm curious to see they've also launched a cloud app for it. So I'm wondering if the cloud app will provide all users a few select workflows that have been developed or how they're imagining that cloud app um, functioning. So um, those were kind of the two kind of highlighty takeaways from day one. There is information on the Illuna website on what sessions will be covered in the remainder of those days of the online conference. So if there's something that you are particularly interested in and would like me to watch for, um, or submit a question to, just let me know. Um, Known issues. So last couple weeks, I have had a number of institutions with failed user loads with the error of could not parse file. For the most part, these resolved the next day, but it's very interesting because the files were fine. Um, and normally a could not parse file error is because something's been changed on your IT's end with like the script to convert the CTC link extract for Alma. And so the fact that these are happening when there aren't changes, I also like tested a few by basically downloading them from the server, re-zipping them, and then running manual loads. And a lot of times they worked. One school still didn't, and I've submitted a ticket to Ex Libris to be like, hey, what do you think is going on here? Because there's not actually a problem with these files. So I will definitely be keeping an eye on everyone's loads for the next few weeks. And that support ticket, I don't think they're going to have an answer, but better that it's recorded in some way. Um, this is something that may or may not. Yeah, Grays Harbor, yours has been failing like once every 4 days. It's very weird. And I don't think it's on your side. Like the file looks fine. Um, yeah, so SAML certificates. There is a certificate in use by some institutions that does expire at the end of August. Um, if you don't know how to check that or you're not sure, I can look into it. Although seeing everybody on this call, I think you're probably all more than capable of checking that. Um, but I'll be kind of going down the list and contacting institutions that have this certificate in use, just so that we have that replaced before the school year starts. They say, like, yes, you should replace it. You may need to replace it, but it should work even when it's expired. So, this is not like critical function, but better safe than sorry. Um, So those are some of the things that have been going on service wise. July did not have a big release. However, there was one weird little coding thing that showed up, and I'm gonna show you it in Pierce. Nope, I want your library, not Alma. Although you'll notice it um, in everybody's. Here, gonna get into, there we go. Okay. So in your collections, it looks fine here. And then if you click into a collection, there is something weird going on with um the spacing on this header. And so I'm trying a couple fixes with CSS, um, with Pierce. So if you notice this, don't worry, it is affecting everybody, which also makes me think they'll probably just realize the bug and fix it in the August release. But I'm also working on a workaround that won't break it for future fixes from Ex Libris, and that can be used for like everybody. So it doesn't just replace something with a Pierce color, but it actually fixes the weird format thing. So that happened in the July release, hopefully fixed soon, because it's really a pretty basic like CSS issue. Um, but there's a lot of elements of CSS in this header, so trying to fix it has been fun. Um, learning opportunities. So if you are looking for uh, something to fill a little bit of your time, or maybe you have an interest in AI, Choice in partnership with Clarivate is doing this AI literacy series, and it's all asynchronous, free, and it's about generative AI. So kind of just getting familiar with it. So if that is of interest to you, the link, how about I share the link for the minutes here? There we go. So link for that is in there. Um, I also will be planning some workshops um, for the rest of the summer, in addition to getting a couple more drop-ins on the calendar. And so I do have the uh, topic interest survey. I'll probably do something on all of these things sometime before the winter. Um, but if there's one that people are particularly interested in and those people are actually around in the summer, we might as well have one in the summer. We can always follow up in the fall for other folks. So please share to anyone on your team who is on contract and might be interested in one of these um, topics to learn a little bit more. I have recently learned from Ex Libris that only 15 of our colleges are doing sushi harvests. So that leaves quite a few of us who have not gotten those set up yet. So I'd really like to see more of those getting set up in the future. Catalog cleanup is always fun. We can use some of the reports on bad diacritics that Kirsty has and some of those norm rules to fix things. Or we could look at, items or bibs without holdings, holdings without items, things like that. We can look at all kinds of things. So if that is something you'd like help with, auto holdings is a new feature where Ex Libris is working directly with certain publishers, and originally it was pretty limited. Um, and they use your, like subscriber, customer ID, whatever, to directly communicate with the publisher and do an import profile based on your holdings with that publisher. And so um, we have nobody, I think, using auto holdings, or maybe a couple people are using one or two. So that's a big one that we could start this summer. I'll definitely be carrying into fall. And then I've got a few institutions who have had some fulfillment policy problems with contradictory fulfillment policies, confusion, items not triggering the right thing. Um, so after working with Mary at North Idaho and also taking a look at Renton's with Kristen um, and Big Ben's with Amanda, I realized that, you know, having some folks get together and just kind of like look at things together might be useful. So that's where these 4 ideas came from. Let me know, what you might be interested in, what length, how many, and then if there are other topics. So real short. Um, so that's kind of the plan for the rest of the summer, is to get at least one workshop, maybe two, and then some bi-weekly drop-ins, because I know there just aren't a ton of us around, as evidenced by our meeting today. Um, the big news, and I will be talking about this all summer and all fall, and there will just have to be a deadline moment on this, but I am going to be replacing the CTC listserv with a Google group. Why? Because the CTC hosted listserv is broken. It's getting spammed by like 70,000 bot emails a day. The whole system, not just like our listserv. So when I sent out the announcement about this meeting, it was delayed by 7 hours. We also can't, like, no one who's not an admin can access subscribing or unsubscribing. It is practically impossible to manage list membership in any kind of efficient way. Like, I can't export everybody. I can't even bulk delete people. It's really annoying. Uh, you can't search the archives. Like, there's no keyword search. Um, these are all things that are basic listserv functions, in my opinion, and exist with Google Groups. So, um, I have the group here. It's just going to be WACTCLC at googlegroups.com. So I will start. I did. I didn't even export um the list from the CTC. I had to literally highlight and copy from the web page and paste it into an Excel and then like clean it up and do that for every single letter of the alphabet because you can only view members of the listserv by letters of the alphabet. So that's real annoying. The Alma listserv is obviously our bigger one. When I looked at the Primo listserv, it was everyone was duplicate except for 3 people. So those 3 people can just be on this general one because it will not be an Alma only one. We can, once we kind of get some traction on this, start subgroups. So we can have an Alma/systems. We can have a cataloging. Um, we can have Primo NDE when that migration starts happening. So lots of good reasons to switch over. Also, the software that the state is using, um, they're using a version that's not even supported. Like the version before is supported and the version after is supported, but the version they're using isn't. And when I looked it up, who else uses that? Most academic institutions who used to use it have moved over to Google Groups. So I'm like, yeah, clearly that is the better option. Um, so that's kind of the big news. Bobby has put in chat um the August Primo V release. Alma will be logically marking titles as suppressed if they do not have inventory or relations. So if you have a bib, yeah, I think you're right about relations being network zone of like you have a bib and someone else has a holding. Um, and so that functionality will be turned off by default, but you could turn it on. I guess, I mean, like that is a nice, helpful kind of whoops, you still have something listed that doesn't have an item. But it's also just good to clean up your catalog periodically. So, yeah, cleanup's always needed. Um, but that's an interesting one. We'll have to kind of, no, I do not want to autocorrect to that, but thanks. Um, yeah, we'll have to see how that works. I will be curious, if it helps with like user discovery, and getting stuff in Primo that we don't own. But um yeah, so um this is all I have for now. The remainder of the eLuna online sessions are going to be next week on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So I'll probably have some more updates from that. Um, Oh, definitely fill out the survey as individuals. As much input as possible is welcome. So it is pretty much all kind of systems, tech services, circulation. I don't have anything really on here for, like faculty or instructional librarians, but those are the folks that are probably off contract for the most part this summer anyway. So, yeah, please share. Um, Always helps give me a little bit of direction when I go down a rabbit hole on figuring stuff out. Okay. Question about user loads. Additional information loaded. Yeah. What's up?
Hey, so we are looking to get student personal emails, which are in the CTC link record into Alma. I don't know if that's possible, if anybody else has done it. I know we have a variety of methods for getting users loaded, but we're just finding that our students are not checking their school email like at all. Um, and it would just save steps and clicks from having to log into CTC Link if that information was just uploaded as part of our regular process. Anyone doing that?
Um, some schools don't have school emails. Um, I think Pencil is the last one, and they're slowly getting there. So it is absolutely possible. Um, you should be able to work with your data link person and have your extract query
Yeah,
changed to include personal email. Then on the conversion script, if you probably want to work with me, although there's documentation. So if they are more of a loner and just want links to documentation, let me know. Um, but there is documentation on how to bring that in, because it's absolutely possible, um, because personal email is a field. And in fact, some schools, just because of the way the script is written, I think are loading school email into um, personal email field, so it's not like it even matters. Hold on. Where? Users. I don't just want to show kind of how you can. So, so one of the things you can do to get the user load, like XML template, so you know what those fields are called, is to do, we'll use mine. Um, so you create a sample here, and you can, um, it's actually good to use it for a real person because then you actually get all of the normal fields, um, and not just test one that's empty. But you can see email and then email type. So all you have to do is basically you'll do, and this is in the documentation, but we can do a, it's a duplication. So you'd have email um and email address, and it'd be their personal, and then email type, and email type would say personal, and then when it would show up, it would show up in their thing. And then we could make the work or slash school email, whatever it is that it's labeled as, preferred false, and the personal email is preferred true for students. So it might, changing the query to pull the personal email shouldn't be that difficult, but then getting the coding to change the preferred email for students to the personal instead of the work or school or however it's going in now, um, might just take a scoshy bit um, of tweaking. I could take a look at different folks' loads to see if anyone is loading into the personal field, um, and then ask them. um, you know, what their experience has been with that as far as accuracy. And because the other thing is, I think we want to keep the work email as preferred,
I was
which
just gonna say that, yeah, because
because
personal might not be in the record for every
right, and
student.
then you
Yeah.
could get um, a fail on the load. Whereas if you had a student come in who specifically is like, I don't look at my school email, then you could change their preferred email to their personal.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I just got to get our local guy to respond. But it sounds like it's fairly straightforward. So are you going to be out this summer? Are you here through the summer? I don't remember.
I am here through the summer, taking a couple Fridays
Okay.
off is all, but um
Well, I will
yeah.
be in touch once I hear back from Ethan.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm happy to work with them to go through the documentation because there is documentation on how to construct the XML and like what's required. Um, but it's real buried. And in my experiences with Shoreline and a few other folks, um, it can be difficult for the CTC Link people who are not familiar with Alma to know what the heck any of it means, even though it's about code, it doesn't make sense when you don't know where it's going to. Um, so, but yeah, so it's not tough. We can definitely do that. Um, I am also trying to work with Peninsula on a solution for the required address, phone, and email fields causing rejected users. Some of the extraction and conversion scripts exclude any users who are missing that required information, which makes it really hard for libraries to get users created, even incomplete ones. Um, but Bellevue has fi figured out the conversion script to close off those fields um, when they're empty so that the user still gets loaded and created just without um, the address or phone number or email. So that's super critical as we deal with more students who are part of the unhoused or unstable housing situation. Um, and like if they haven't put in an email yet or whatever. So working on that, and I hope to have some news. Um, I still have the dream of like being like, here's a standard extract and script that will work for almost everyone, um, with small variations. It'll never work for Seattle, but that's okay. Um, but if we could get everyone else on closer to the same page, I think it would alleviate issues. Um, yeah, so I'm just working on kind of various long-term projects, like trying to figure out how to migrate everyone to NDE and what that's going to take. Um, I mean, Lori and Victoria and Bobby can attest to the ridiculous complexity, but also like you can just migrate over, but also you can't. So it's complex, but it's not, and we're gonna figure that out. Um, Also working on some API call development to see if I can't kind of like collate information from all the schools into a single Google sheet because that's apparently possible. And then I will be setting up an inaugural uh, integrate your Alma resource sharing with WorldShare. And my interested schools are So you guys get first dibs: Edmonds, Olympic, South Puget Sound, Skagit, Pierce, and Whatcom. So hopefully I have asked Ex Libris to get together the documentation and correct what is incorrect about it and make it make more sense and plug the gaps. Um, and then probably connect with one of my ILL wizards on the WorldShare side of things. Um, and we'll start that project in the fall. But Ex Libris is our customer success plan, or whatever person is bugging support for all the documentation. So yeah, so I'm just kind of like working on big projects. So if anything comes up in your environment that you need help with, let me know. Lori.
So circling back to the email and Alma thing,
Mm-hmm.
at Pierce, the college has allowed in CTC Link people to choose their personal email as their preferred. And that's how we're getting personal emails into Alma as preferred. So if somebody chooses their Gmail as preferred, then it goes into the preferred slot. If they choose their school email as preferred, it goes into the preferred slot. So I think that's been really helpful. As far as accuracy of all of the data, that's like another whole story that, I think everybody's constantly working on. But that might be another route for folks to examine at their colleges, is will the college allow people to signify their personal email as their preferred?
Yeah, and it's always interesting to me which colleges allow those kinds of things, because um from a FERPA standpoint, uh I don't love the use of personal email. Um I will accept it, and like I think the library system using it, if that email is getting pulled directly from data link, is probably okay, because then it is a theoretically confirmed uh valid email for the person you are intending to contact. um I don't like the, oh yeah, just give me your email and we'll put it in here, because um that I think causes issues, because we cannot we're not in the business of confirming emails for identity to adhere to privacy policies. Um, so anyway, that's a whole tangent. But um, yeah, some schools I know are super, super stickler of like, we will not communicate with you through anything but your school email. And then other schools are less stickler about it. So, um, but good to know that clearly very possible. And uh Andrew probably knows who wrote that script and could help out whoever at Whatcom is working on a script. So, um, all right. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording unless there are any other general questions for the good of the group.